Now the battle against ISIL. It is more than 2 months now since the US-led coalition began targeting the group in Iraq, and there have been some tactical successes. Although ISIL is far from defeated, it appears, and it won't be, everybody agrees, an easy fight. As Zeina reports from Erbil, the Iraqi government is still to persuade Sunni armed factions and tribes to fight against ISIL.
Sunni Muslims have been demanding greater rights in Iraq for a long time. They're angry at the government and its armed forces. Months before the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant took control of the Sunni heartland, people there were already fighting back against the state. Ghanem El-Abed was one of the protest leaders in Mosul, a vocal opponent of what protesters called Iraq's sectarian army. He was forced to leave the city to avoid arrest. Abed now lives in the Kurdish city of Erbil in northern Iraq. He says the Iraqi government, its Shia Muslim militias, and the US-led coalition won't be able to win the fight against ISIL unless they have the support of Sunnis like him.
The people of Mosul prefer ISIL over Shia militias linked to Iran. People are afraid if these militias enter the city, they will carry out massacres. So they won't fight ISIL because that means giving Mosul to those militias and to the US.
Like Abed, many in the Sunni opposition say the security forces are dominated by Shias. And what worries them even more is that the Shia militias leading the Iraqi government's battle against ISIL are believed to be supported by Iran. Sunni opposition leaders say they won't take up arms against ISIL until their demands are met. They want a new army that is loyal to the nation and not to a certain sect or individuals, but that will require time. And so in the interim, they want the government to approve a plan to create the National Guard. The idea is for a National Guard to take the Iraqi army off the streets. Each province would have its own force. In Sunni areas, it would incorporate members of armed groups. And in Shia areas, the National Guard would absorb the militias. Mazen al-Samarai believes that's the only way to convince Sunnis to fight ISIL. He's a member of Iraq's Salvation Front, one of many groups that have taken up arms against the government.
The US doesn't understand. Shia militias kill people and loot homes. For Sunnis, those militias are just like ISIL, so they won't fight ISIL unless they feel they can protect themselves from these militias.
Many in the opposition say ISIL is their enemy, but they won't fight the radical group, only to replace it with a Shia force that they fear even more. Zeina, Khodr, Al Jazeera, Erbil.
And now the thoughts of Mohammed Al-Ghanban, Shia Alliance MP, who says that a political solution with the Sunnis in Iraq is a possibility.
The Sunnis in Iraq are an integral component of the political process in the country, and they are also facing the dangers of ISIL. They are our equal partners in our war against ISIL, but the request to set up a provincial national guards and the local units to police their own regions will need to go through the parliament for a vote first, and this will take time.